Hello and welcome to Steelfur Speaks. I am Steelfur, and this is another Flesh and Blood podcast. Contrary to opinions, we are not just playing the Bazaar, though everyone I know does seem to be playing the Bazaar. A friend of mine sent me an invite code, and genuinely, I have played so many games of this now. It's really fun. It's still an closed beta, so it's still early doors, but I'm enjoying it quite a lot. So when I haven't been playing FAB, that is what I've been doing. But this is not a Bazaar podcast. This is obviously a Flesh and Blood podcast. How have you all been? How have your weeks been? Mine's been okay. I've been doing a lot of cooking. I made biryani, lamb biryani. I made some red lentil dal over the weekend. I made lasagna. That was really good. I haven't really done much like creative cooking recently. That's why I haven't been talking about it as much. I've kind of just been using the recipes that I've learned this year and just like cooking them on and off. So a bit of pad kaprao. I made a really good macaroni and cheese. I basically slow cooked French onions until they sort of caramelized. And then I cut up a baguette, covered it in rosemary, olive oil, pepper and salt, and baked and grilled it in the oven. And then I took the caramelized onions and mixed them with a pretty standard cheddar mac and cheese. And then I took the baguette and I breadcrumbed that and then spread it all over on top of the mac and cheese. So we ended up with this caramelized onion cheddar mac and cheese that was really good. Really liked that. I also made a really easy dish I saw on TikTok that was like a kind of like creamy, spicy sauce. So it was basically like you fry ginger and garlic in a pan with some butter, decent bit of butter. Cook some spaghetti off on the side, or noodles if you prefer noodles, and then to that mix you've got with the garlic and the ginger and the butter, you're going to add a decent bit of soy sauce, and then you're going to add a decent bit of gochujang. Obviously not that much, like 1 to 2 spoons of gochujang. Soy sauce you could use like maybe 1/4 to 1/2 cup if you're American, maybe like 50, like not a huge amount, a schlep of it, whatever, a little bit. And then you add your pasta, and then you add cream. And you could either add cream. I used Greek yogurt. It tasted great with Greek yogurt as well. You don't really need cream or oat cream. You could use something like that. Or a bit more butter. And then Parmesan. And then when you serve it, you put a bit of chili oil or chili crisp. I love La Goma, the chili crisp, into the mixture. And that gives you this really creamy but also spicy sauce. If you're slightly lactose intolerant like me, we'll go through you like a bullet train. But, in general, you're going to have a good time with the flavors. And I always measure kind of whether or not a dish is good by how quickly my partner eats it before I have a chance to have more, or whether she wants like seconds straight away, or whether she is like, oh, can I have that for lunch tomorrow? So if she's like straight away, she's like, I'm taking that for lunch tomorrow, then I know I've cooked like a 10 out of 10 dish. So that's good. So she instantly just wanted more of that. So I knew it was good. It was this really complex, like parmesan-y, spicy, chili, garlicky, gingery flavor with a bit of soy sauce as well. It was quite complex. And you can easily like make it with an instant ramen pot or like something like that and just mix in the other ingredients. It would probably work out quite well as well. Or one of those buldak carbonaras. I also made like a Thai red curry ramen, which is like basically Thai red paste with ginger and garlic, and then coconut milk. Mixed with your ramen instant noodle packet and then mixed with the instant noodles, and then I served that with gyoza on top. That was really good as well. So I've been having a lot of good winter food. I made a stew last week as well with just like diced beef and like parsnips and carrots and bit of barley and stuff and beef stock chucked in a slow cooker for a while. So there's been a lot of food going on. There's been a lot of Warhammer going on. I'm painting, I think, what is my 40th or 50th Warhammer mini now after 2 months. But then I painted Skaven, so I'm kind of cheating because that whole army is, the spearhead is like 60 miniatures or something, so I'm kind of cheating. But I'm currently doing 13 Stormcast Eternals and wet blending glowing white wings, white and blue wings, which is really fun. So yeah, that's going on. Flesh and Blood. Sorry, we're 5 minutes into the podcast and I barely mentioned Flesh and Blood at all. But, you know, I believe part of the reason you guys watch this is to listen to me rather than necessarily just to follow the latest Flesh and Blood news. And also just, you know, thank you everyone who does listen and leave comments. I really do appreciate it. If you see me at an event, I would love to give you a Steelfur Speaks sticker. We have them. They're great. They have the new logo on. I will also be releasing information about a Steelfur Speaks playmat that will be available. I need to figure out how to get a decent number of them printed if people are interested. You know, I can't really show the art yet because it's not printed, but it's a custom piece of art that I've commissioned from Matthias. Oh, what's his second name? Anyway, he's done a lot of fab art, some of the stuff from Aria that I really like. So I commissioned him to do a custom piece of artwork based around the World Tree for me, and that will be available on playmats. I have the first one being printed to test it, and then I need to figure out how to get a lot more printed if people want them. But yeah, no, so thank you for following me on this journey. You know, as we start to come into 2020, the close of 2024, I'm very, very grateful for the year that has been and for the channel that has continued to grow. You know, we've gained, I think, about 800, maybe 700 followers this year, and given that I did take a large break at the end of last year for about 3 or 4 months, you know, I'm quite happy that the channel growth has ramped up considerably, because I think I was about 1100 at the start of the year and now we're coming up on 1800. So I'm pretty grateful for the channel growth, especially because I haven't had to like drastically overhaul the formula of the channel to get that growth either. You know, if you follow me, you will have seen I have started doing, but not even started, I've continued my new player focused videos, which have been doing very well. You know, the latest one had, I think, 1,500 views, and I'm really happy that new players are finding it very useful to get into the game. But I've always done that kind of stuff, so I'm not really changing what I'm doing. I've always wanted to not only bring new players into the game, but talk about it from a objective and fair standpoint, so they don't feel like they're... I'm just going to turn it down slightly, so they don't feel like they're just getting an LSS marketing message. So they understand where the good and the bad is in the game, and that's why when you look at my new player hero reviews, you know, I'm reviewing them out of 5, and not every hero is getting 5 stars for new players. Plenty of them are getting 1 or even 2 stars because that's what they deserve if you're approaching them as a new player, or even, to a certain extent, some of them even when you're approaching them as an older player, they're just not very well designed because they rely too heavily on a mechanic that taxes your hand, like Bolton, or... you know, they might kill themselves like Levia. You know, I have certain heroes that I just think are poorly designed, and I don't think new players should necessarily be picking them up if they're complicated. If they're poorly designed, but the poor design only reveals itself when you're, you know, 5 years into the game, that's fine. New players can enjoy that as well, right? That's not how we judge. We judge based on how good they are for new players. So we've been doing that. We've been doing the occasional deck tech when I've built a deck that I find's fun, but not leaning too heavily on those deck techs. And, you know, I could... when I made that Florian deck tech that I made, it did get almost 2,000 views. It's a very popular video, even though it's a half-baked deck idea. And maybe in the new year, I'll have to commit to doing a few more deck techs just to get the viewership up. But ultimately, the goal of the channel has been and still continues to be creating a consumer-focused voice and, you know, objective... well, not objective because I love Flesh and Blood, but, you know, objective as possible with the positive position that I come from, discussion about the game that we all play with a view towards, you know, being critical when it's necessary, being supportive when it's necessary, to commentate on what are the good and the bad parts. Because the whole point is that I put all the effort in because I like Flesh and Blood. It's a really great game. But I also, you know, think it's important to always be engaging with the companies in your life as a person who realizes that you are the customer, right? And that means that even if you're super invested with a brand like Flesh and Blood, or, you know, you really like a certain type of shoes or t-shirts, you need to constantly be looking at that and saying, okay, but they just did this. How does that make me feel? Do I feel positive about that decision? Do I feel negative about that decision? Am I okay with that decision in the context of the other decisions they've made? Or is this a breaking point? And a lot of my position on engaging with FAB comes from my position from my many years of engagement with Blizzard Entertainment. StarCraft 2, Warcraft 2, Warcraft 3, some of the earliest games that I got on the computer, not the earliest, because the earliest was the earliest was SimEarth, Theme Hospital, Theme Park, and Mario's Missing on my Windows DOS computer. And then the earliest desktop game was Age of Empires 2. But then when I started to properly grow up and understand a bit more about games and stuff like that, I bought the Battle Chest and I got Blizzard. And then I got into World of Warcraft, and I've got over a year's playtime in World of Warcraft. Now, a lot of that time is just AFK watching TV in a capital city, but still, I played a lot of World of Warcraft. And at some point, Blizzard got bad, right? They got genuinely bad. World of Warcraft got terrible. Warlords of Draenor, terrible. It had good parts, but it was still a bad game, and I didn't stop playing. And then I kept buying the latest game that they would put out, like Overwatch, Warcraft 3 Forged, all of them, and spending money on them, and then realizing, the game is not good, but I've bought it on pre-order with the highest tier of pre-order because I thought that this company had earned my money and my trust from the years of engagement that I had with them. And then, it takes a while to break that cycle of trust in a brand, but once it's broken, you can never really go back under the looking glass, if that makes sense, because you go from being someone who complains from the inside but would never leave to someone who complains and will vote with their wallet, right? And once I made that realization, I started looking around at the other companies that I engaged with and said, who is doing the exact same thing to me? And that brought me to how I then began to engage with Flesh and Blood, which was to just start to say, LSS is great. I love a lot of what they do, but I don't trust any company with my money and my time in an unengaged and uncritical way, which is then became I started to realize it in 2022 when I started doing some initial videos just criticizing, just like how they were doing judging and how they were doing tournament prizes and how they were doing, FOMO on packs and limited run products and stuff like that. And then I started, ramping that up a bit in 2023, and it kind of became one of the core ethos of the channel, because before that I was just kind of like a Flesh and Blood news and discussion channel where I wasn't afraid to call them out if they did something good or bad, but it wasn't part of the core ethos of the channel. And in 2024 it really grew into, this is something that I do that I don't see other people doing. And a little bit before, I was like, whatever I need to do to get viewers, I should put the videos up that are really positive and get me viewers. And I was like beating myself up because I was like, you're not doing enough deck techs, and, Push the Point are doing all the deck techs and they're getting the interviews. And some of these people, you could get these interviews, you could do these deck techs. Why aren't you? Because if you did that, you'd be growing faster and you'd get more of the views. And then you'd get more of the money and you'd get more of a role and you'd get a sponsor and X, Y, and Z. Your channel would grow. And then in 2023, kind of leading into 2024, I decided that actually I was fine with a few things. I was fine with the level of engagement I was putting into the channel, 1 or 2 hours every week. If I go on holiday, that's fine. If it's not a crisis. If I have a work thing, that's fine. It's not a crisis. And then I realized, well, if I'm fine with that level of engagement, I kind of have to accept that the channel is not going to grow in the same way that the other Flesh and Blood channels are, the ones that are reaching 3,000-4,000 now. And partly that's because maybe my voice is not, reaching that many people. They want a podcast with 2-3 people on dissenting views. They don't just want one crotchety, English white guy in, English Irish, I should say, English Irish white guy sitting in his not my bedroom, actually, it's my office now, but it used to be my bedroom, talking about the game and getting worked up about things and not always having the right take. I'll be the first to admit that my takes haven't always been correct, and I was like, maybe this is just the audience and the voice that I can reach, with the amount of work I'm going to put in and with the amount of effort. And at the start of the year I thought, let's try and get another commentator in. Did some episodes with Erica, did a few more episodes, and those were great, and she's gone on to be a fantastic caster now, and I'm not saying that's anything to do with my few episodes I did with her. I'm more just saying that when I heard she was going to be a caster, I was like, that's fantastic. One of the things I've said for years FAB needs is less white American guys in the casting booth. We need more women, we need more diversity, we need more European voices. If you tick all of those boxes, fantastic. And she's also really good. So we've had a really good diversification in the casting this year, and I've been really keen to see that. But so I kind of just said, look, let's not worry about extra casters, and it was partly because I wasn't exactly having people lining up to join the podcast, because this is the Steelfur show, right? It's not like I'm offering to make a new brand with someone else or a new YouTube channel with someone else, which I could do, and that would be fun. But anyone I'm inviting on this, it's called Steelfur Speaks. It is literally my name on the door, and anyone coming in is not going to feel like an equal partner. I mean, they would have been, because I would have given them that effort. But the point is, it's not like I had people knocking on my door to, join in the thing. And that, again, brought us back to the idea that maybe I was getting the audience that I was able to get, 100, 200, 300 listeners per episode. But the main thing that was very important for me was that I had enough of a consistent viewership, if it's 200-300 per podcast episode, that when I did a video about something important, I had enough of a consistent viewership that the YouTube algorithm would pick up that important video so that I could generate a discussion about it. And that's kind of where I ended up, was that if I can only get, I'm up to, 1,700, 1,800 viewers now, but if I can only gain 20 to 30 viewers a month or something like that and grow very slowly, then that's fine. And if I'm just going to have the viewership I've got and I'm not going to bring in another caster, then that's fine as well. And if my channel's going to stay around this size and grow a little bit, I'm probably not going to get a sponsor, and that's fine as well, because, this is my hobby, which I enjoy, but it's not the way I make money, which is fine as well. I mean, I make, just to be transparent, through advertising and stuff like that, which I leave on because I have a feeling that YouTube promotes videos that have adverts more, and various other things. But it's also kind of cute because it does let me track how much I'm making from views each month. But I make about 20 quid a month, right? I get about 5 to 10,000 views a month. I make about 20 quid a month. That buys me a couple beers. It helps chip in towards my video editing costs. I'm fine with that, right? It doesn't cover the amount of time and hours that I would bill if I was in the private sector. I mean, it's a little bit of a disclosure, but the company that I work for, if you want me to go and speak at your event for like half a day, right, in my professional capacity, my company will charge you over $1,000, like about 1.5. It might be a little less or a little more, it depends where you're going, but if I have to go, and also how engaged I have to be at the event, but if I'm just showing up talking in a webinar, it could be 1.5 plus travel and expenses. So if you break that down, if I get on a train in the morning at 9 o'clock, I go to an event at 10, and I've done this recently, I speak for 40 minutes, and then I leave the event at 11:30 or 12 o'clock and get the train home, and I've been working for 3.5 hours, and I've gone somewhere, talked, and come back. That is how much that is worth, right? In terms of my time. Now, I don't get paid that much because this is just how economics work. I don't get $1,500 for that speakership. I get paid much, much less. But my point is just that, because I don't want to make this about money, because people will start thinking I'm this crazily rich person, which I'm not, or I wouldn't be recording from my spare bedroom, aka random room in the house, which is full of stuff. It's fine. But the point is that I'm not planning, I never planned YouTube. And I think this is what changed from when I started to now, is the idea that I was going to make a career out of YouTube, and I was going to make a load of money doing fab videos and get in on the ground and be that channel, right? And I think I quickly just realized, if I was being honest with myself, that wasn't what I was going to be, just because I think I don't appeal as much to the US audience, and there's just not enough like fun. I'm the sensible, quiet one, right? Who's here to talk sense and to, criticize and to be engaged. And I don't really have a fun hype guy who's going to go out and get the people in and organize a big piss up at every Pro Tour and that kind of thing. So, I was never going to grow the brand in that direction, and that was kind of fine. But as I said, my main goal, once I took money out of the equation and growing the subscriber count out of the equation, though I am grateful for every subscriber that I have, because ultimately I'm doing this for the community and doing it to be part of that community. Once I took that out of the equation, what was left was, okay, but what do you actually want to achieve? And it turns out that all of what I wanted to achieve was that when something happened that is concerning or, alarming or divisive or, critical or, some kind of a challenge, that I would be able to put out a very credible video on that topic, taking as many facts as I could, talk about it, and have people go, okay, yeah, let's go to Steelfur, let's see what he says about it. And that's happened a few times in the past 2 years. And in those instances, I have gotten the views, I have gotten the discussion, and I have gotten a fair, commentary on it, which is what I wanted to achieve. So you think about the fact that 2 UK players were disqualified from the last World Championships. I talked about that and how I thought that they were being discriminated against because they were punished far more harshly for offences that had been committed by other people in a similar setting, with much, much harsher punishments than had been given to other people previously. And also, in the instance of Kashi, I believe punished unfairly because the rules weren't written that punished exactly what happened with the language miscommunication when he was banned or when he was disqualified and lost all of that prize money, and that affected who won the World Championships. They later then updated that rule and changed what was discussed to remove the ambiguity, but it was my contention, I still believe, and FAB has run afoul of this a few times, that they were judging something based on their own internal, thought process and what they had decided on, but not on what the rules said was possible. Now, the rules can't be completely comprehensive, but when we were already dealing with a contentious issue, aka an area where the rules had been updated 5 or 6 times, the concession rules, it's not unreasonable to think that by the time you're getting there and you've had 5 or 6 rules updates, that if you're within the scope of the rules, you shouldn't be getting disqualified. But also his opponent, who agreed to the idea of what he was suggesting, was not disqualified and did not have his monetary taken away. But we don't want to talk about that. We talk about that. We can talk about Jacob Clements getting disqualified for looking around during a draft, when if you've been to any competitive event, you'll see that happens all the time. And then we can talk about the flake stuff, which happened during the world premiere in Japan. I was one of the very few channels I saw actually talking about what happened, because a lot of people don't want to engage with that decisive issue. I, equally, didn't really want to engage with it too much, because I thought this is quite a negative topic. This is quite a negative area. But you know what? He was being weird, and he was being weird to his female co-worker on a screen at the world premiere of an event, in the first event that people are ever seeing from the Japanese market. They see an American commentator being a bit weird to a Japanese female commentator, right? And some people might think it's harmless, other people might not. Clearly LSS thinks that it's not harmless. And then you have other people in the community who are cosplayers and things like that saying he's been a bit weird to me as well. It's okay to just be like, that's weird, and there's a reason that he then got taken off the cast, right? So I talked about that, and that got coverage as well. But I'm not trying to be sensationalist. The goal is to consistently try and shed light on issues that occur in a fair and equal manner. It's the dog in the background. And by doing that, lead a consistent and logical narrative that can actively dissect the community. And that means that when I want to talk about whether or not I think the judge team in Flesh and Blood is suitably diverse and is established for long-term health, which is a video I've been working on for a while, that I'll be putting out in a couple of weeks, probably after Christmas. When I want to talk about predatory TCG practices and how they're creeping into LSS's plans for buying and selling things, which is a video I'm working on at the moment, I can. And those videos will have credibility, and they will have the weight of someone who has been in the space for years, and I don't need them to blow up. I don't need them to get 10,000 views. I don't think there are 10,000 views out there in the FAB community for those kind of videos. I just need people to see them if that's something they're interested in. I need them to have enough weight on the YouTube algorithm so that people can find my view on a topic that is, I think, reasonably valid and can use that as a basis for understanding what has happened in a specific situation. And that's really the goal of the channel now. It's just to continue that drumbeat of discussions, and then to put out videos for new players, and then also to tackle difficult issues as and when they come up, and then just continue to talk once a week or every 2 weeks about what's happening in FAB. And that's kind of the roadmap I've set myself for 2025. If you've been listening this far, thank you so much. That means you are probably one of my consistent listeners. I'm actually quite good on this. I've been looking at comparative metrics, and on my typical videos, about a third of people listen to the whole video, and my drop-off isn't even that stark. So if you're one of the third of the people who is listening to this video still, I appreciate you very, very much. Please do make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Still only about 30% of people are subscribed. So if you're here regularly, and I know a lot of you are, please do continue to like and subscribe to the channel. And if you disagree with me, the comment section is right there. If you think, Finbar, your opinions aren't actually that good, and you're always missing the mark with your hot takes, and I think you should just chuck in the towel, you can tell me that as well. Now, I personally don't subscribe to the viewpoint where I let other people's opinions affect the content I'm going to put out. I heard a really good talk by a guy. His stage name is Blind Boy Boat Club. He's from Ireland. He went to school down the road from me in Limerick. I am Irish, by the way, just so people don't get confused. I was born in London, but when I was 8, I moved to Limerick. I grew up in Limerick. I went to Villiers Secondary School. And down the road from me in Irish School Rish, which is just down the road, these guys went to school around the same time, and they're big comedians in Ireland. I'm part of a group called the Rubber Bandits, and he talks about how you can't let either positive or negative feedback impact your creative process too much. So if people tell you things are really bad, well, you have to say, who did I make this for? Did I make it for me or for them? And there's always a bit of both when you're doing this kind of YouTube content, but ultimately I accept that not everyone is going to like the videos, but the fact that I have almost 1,800 subscribers after doing this for a couple of years means that there are at least 1,800 people who thought that I was good enough to click the subscribe button once. And I view that as positive feedback. So if someone says, hey, I disagree with you, I don't take that too negatively. I say, okay, well, why is this person full of a load of shite, or are they actually, giving me a fair bit of feedback? And I will take that. And if someone says, hey, it's really good, I can't let that derail me from what I'm trying to do. If someone said, your deck techs are amazing, you need to do more of them, I can't suddenly turn around and make my life about pumping out deck techs, because, I've got a dog, and I've got a job, and I've got Warhammer to paint, and all these other things. So I can't just be like, well, I'm just going to make an extra video a week. I don't have time for that. I don't have energy for it, and I'm not going to. So, this is what you're going to expect from the channel from 2025 onwards. Continue on with our once a week or every 2 week podcast style. I realize I didn't talk about FAB much at all this video, so I apologize for that. We will talk about Skirmish Season 10 at some point. We will talk about the Jarl Armory deck, which I have not bought yet, but I'm going to buy. And we'll talk about the fact that Zen is good again at some point soon. Also, I love seeing Ira up here as well. Zen and Ira and Bolton, which is a bit weird, but okay, Zen and Ira, we'll take it. So we'll talk about all of that another point. But I thought I owed you guys who have been listening to me, some of you for a very long time now, a bit of an update about what's going on and what my plans are. So next time we come back, I'm going to talk about Fab a bit more. I'll talk about the playmat. I'll show off the art, hopefully if it's arrived. And then around about... Well, around sort of the 15th or maybe the 20th of December, I will be leaving for my Christmas holiday. So I won't necessarily be going anywhere, but I will be not making videos over the Christmas period unless I decide to do a handheld one from my phone or something like that. But I will kind of be taking a break until the new year. I think I have almost 16 days off in a row, which is just... going to be beautiful. I haven't actually had a holiday in a while, so I've got 16 days off. It's going to be great. So thank you all for listening. If you don't hear from me before then, have a Merry Christmas, though you probably will, because there's still a month to go, and I have a lot of things to talk about. And one more thing. So as I say, if you're listening for this long, I do really appreciate it. Just remember that, word of mouth is how we get feedback. Tell your friends that I'm still out there, still kicking. If you have a chance to mention to LSS that I'm still around, I haven't got a content creator preview since Outsiders, which wasn't that long ago, but it also was quite a while ago. And I'll admit my Outsiders spoiler video was bad. It was fully bad. I was under the cush with something. Cush? Is that the right word? No, I don't know. Anyway, I was under pressure a lot. Something worked that week, and I just didn't get it out in time or in a way I would like. But, if given another chance, I will potentially do better. It's a real rat race to try and get a preview at the moment because there's just so many content creators and not that many cards. But I've been around forever, so, make a little noise about old Steelfur if you still like the channel and you still think we're doing a really good job. And... we'll see where that takes us in 2025. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the year. That's my thoughts on where we're going. Sorry, this turned into a bit of a bombastic, masturbatory session for a while there. But I feel like it's good to engage in self-reflection every now and then about your channel and where it's going. And that's where Steelfur Speaks is going in 2025. So more of the same, more of a focus on talking about the important issues and more speaking to all of you about the game that we love. Speak to you all soon, and goodbye.